Hi, I'm Brett Watwood. I'm going to be your instructor for EDU6323. So let me spend a little time going over the course with you. Again, welcome to the course. As I said, I'm Brett Watwood. I am also B. Watwood on Twitter. I have an email address at Northeastern. I blog. I'm on LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube, Instagram. I'm all over the web. I have a digital identity. So do all of you. Part of what we'll address in this course is how all of us have some form of digital identity, and in this modern era, when you think about technology for learning, 9 times out of 10 it has some implication with the web. So the focus of this course will be on using the web for learning. Now let me spend a little time going over the course itself. The outcomes are really to spend some time exploring, to look at lots and lots of processes in the web, and how they might be used for learning. As part of that, we will be exploring the ethical use and getting you to assess the value within your own specific educational or training needs, and we'll do this collaboratively. We'll learn from each other. In some ways, this emulates exactly what we're talking about, using the web for learning, and doing this in a collaborative way, which I think is very important in today's social web. We're going to be using Michelle Miller's 2014 book, Minds Online, which in some ways is focused on online learning. And yet, if you think about it, learning on the web is online learning. Online learning is a part of almost every educational facet today, whether you're talking about K-12, higher education, or corporate training. And so I think this book provides a rich foundation for what we're going to be looking at. Michelle looks at brain-based aspects of attention, memory, thinking, motivation, and how some of that plays into multimedia. All that will be aspects of what we look at, and each week, as we look at different processes for learning, we'll be using Michelle's book as a kind of underpinning for that. So if you look at the course flow, we are going to start out with learning in a networked world. And then we have about 6 weeks of very specific aspects of learning using web technology, like blogging, searching, tagging, networking, collaborating, screencasting, polling. But you'll notice behind this, I have a big circle with attention, memory, thinking, and multimedia. These are aspects of Michelle Miller's book that pull into these. And then the last week, we'll look at this idea of a personal learning network and steps we should use to move forward. We'll be doing much of our work in Blackboard that you're used to, but we'll also be stepping outside of Blackboard. Each week we'll be using Twitter as a kind of tweet up, using the hashtag EDU6323. And I think that will be a lot of fun. I'm also going to recommend that you use either TweetDeck, shown here, or Hootsuite to pull your EDU6323 tweets together. I'll show you that in a second. But this is an important tool that you can use to manage things on the web. I used to use a closed Facebook group in addition to Blackboard for discussions, but I've stopped using this platform due to the scandal earlier this year regarding data mining. I no longer think I can morally ask you to set up a Facebook account if you do not have one, and the scrutiny around privacy is something we will explore on multiple platforms. We will be using Diigo, which is probably new to many of you. Diigo is a social bookmarking tool, and we'll be using it over a 4-week period to collaboratively collect resources around certain topics and share them. And you'll be using these shared resources for one of your papers. So we have a mix of web tools inside and outside of Blackboard, and there'll be others that we look at as we specifically look at technology for learning. So some things to do this first week, besides watch this video. You need to set up accounts if you do not already have them in Twitter and Diigo. Sometimes it's a good idea to set up a dummy email account just to use for setting up these accounts so you don't get spammed down the road once you have an account. And there's a survey to take in getting started that will help me learn more about all of you. If you've not had me before, you will recognize rather quickly that I use a process called PIE, or PIE, to organize my weekly lessons. PIE stands for Preparation, Interactions, Evaluation, and this comes out of St. Leo University down in Florida. They've been doing this for about a decade, and I really like their idea for an online class. So you'll see that when I show you the class, I've organized each week under these 3 folders. Preparation is basically setting the stage. It gets you to think about what's coming up, what are the learning objectives, what are the things you'll have to do for the coming week. Interactions is where you actually do things. You interact with content, you interact with each other, and you interact with me. And evaluation is basically how you're graded. So it's pretty straightforward, and it's a nice organization for a class. You've probably seen this in several of your classes, but I believe it's a good process. There's a flow to all online classes, and this one tends to run Monday to Sunday. In this particular class, by Thursday, you have at least started some tweet conversations in Twitter. You'll be doing your discussion post by Friday, and that's really one of the main things you're doing in this class on a week-to-week basis, sharing and reflecting on discussion boards. There are going to be other assignments, and those are typically due on Sunday. Also, between Friday and Sunday, you'll be responding to your classmates on both Twitter and discussions. And let me say a word about that. In this class, your participation is 25% of your grade. If you tweet on Thursday and then come back late on Sunday to start responding to your classmates, you're not giving them time to respond back to you. So participation points will suffer because of that. And the same with comments in the discussion boards. You post on Friday and then wait till late Sunday to start commenting. You're not respecting your classmates and not giving them time to respond to you. So you have to tweet by Thursday, you have to post by Friday, but I expect some good discussion over the Saturday, Sunday time period with sufficient time for your classmates to respond and you to respond back to them. The major assignments in this class, besides weekly participation, in week 3, you're going to explore searching on the web, and you'll be doing a search and then writing a short paper synthesizing what you learned about searching. We have a 4-week process using Diigo for curating web resources and thinking about what that might mean. And you'll actually use those resources to write an analysis of Web 2.0 through Miller's lenses of attention, memory, and thinking. So between the Diigo resource and the analysis, you're going to get some pretty good use of the Diigo tool. We're going to be looking at making some content ourselves, and you'll actually be creating a short screencast and sharing that. And finally, you'll revamp a lesson to add some aspect of this class to your teaching. So that's the course in a nutshell. Now let me show you a couple of things. All right, so here we are in our class. And in the Start Here section, you've already found the video, but underneath here is the pre-course setup. So if I click in here, this has information on your dummy, setting up your dummy email account, on Twitter, and if you don't have an account, here's how you set one up. There's also a Google Doc where you can come in and put your name and your Twitter account in so that we can all find each other rather rapidly. Some information on Hootsuite and TweetDeck. As I said, I'm a TweetDeck user. And this is my TweetDeck account. You'll notice that anybody that I follow, their tweets show up here, and I follow lots of people and lots of organizations. If someone sends me a specific tweet, that shows up here, and you'll notice, this is Ashley sending me or liking something, and then Inez saying something here, Ashley saying something here, Danielle saying something here, and so forth. Even the Skeptical Goat sent something to me. I follow lots of people. This is the column that I set up for this particular course. And you'll notice that you can go in here, search, and it'll automatically set that column up for you. So that makes it very easy to do. TweetDeck's a wonderful way to organize what's on the web. I have columns for this class, for the class that I taught last term. There's groups I follow. This is a every 2-week chat that's very interesting that I tend to join into. You can have private messages. These are a couple of topical hashtags that I follow, EdTech and e-learning. There's always some interesting information there. So this becomes a very useful tool to use, and we'll be doing it on a weekly basis. And I mentioned we're not going to be using Facebook, so I do give you information about setting up DGO. And again, let me show you a bit about that. All right, so this is my personal DGO account, where I've probably saved 8,000 websites over the last 10 years. But you'll notice as you save any particular website, like I did this one from a Brian Alexander blog post, I use the tags trends, internet, and Meeker. Down here, I save something to EdTech and artificial intelligence. And this is, again, a bookmarking site. So if I want to see everything that I've saved about artificial intelligence, I just simply either type it in here or click on one of these. And here are the 31 websites I've saved about artificial intelligence. That makes it a very useful tool for research and all. But for our class, there's also groups. I belong to a bunch of groups. But here's the one for EDU6323. And as a member of this group, you'll be able to see what anybody saves to the group. And not only that, but because it's social, you can actually comment just like you do in Twitter or in discussion boards. So this was an article that was saved by Inez, and then Matthew came back and made a comment about it. And that's kind of interesting and fun to do on a weekly basis. We'll be using this to save articles about memory, thinking, attention, and then using those articles as we analyze the web. So under weekly lessons, you'll find each week is set up in the Pi setup. Again, the course isn't available yet, but it will be soon. But here you have all the different sections. Perspective gives you the kind of a rundown about the class. And then in interactions, you have things like the readings for each week. Sometimes I put in a just for fun thing that this was what Apple thought the future would look like in 1987. And it's actually pretty close. It's interesting to see. Week 3, we're looking at web-based searches, and you'll be doing searches using a variety of search platforms, but you have a paper to turn in that week. And so under evaluation, since you're being evaluated, that's where you would turn in the paper. So anytime you have an assignment to turn in, look in evaluation for the place to turn it in. So anyway, I think you're pretty familiar with Blackboard, and this gives you a pretty good rundown of the course and what we're going to be talking about. I'm looking forward to it. I always have fun in this course. And I'm looking forward to getting to know each of you better. Some of you I've had before. For others, this will be your first Whatwood course, but hopefully not your last. So see you online.